Hey guys, Jenna Sackett here. I'm going live on Facebook and YouTube for a fun little project that I am doing inspired by the upcoming holiday Memorial Day. So we're just 2 weeks out roughly from Memorial Day weekend. And for those of you that are looking for ideas to be able to profit more with stuff during the summer, then definitely take advantage of the holidays that go throughout the summer. And a lot of them are Americana inspired. This is a graphic tee that I actually made just last week. And I wanted to show you just how quickly and easily you guys can start making graphic tees like this and where I pull inspiration from. So I was actually on Pinterest and I was just looking at what different things people were doing for the summer holidays. So Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, all of that's coming up. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that people are creating that is inspired by these holidays. So I just put in Americana custom tee. You can do 4th of July tee. There's just so many different avenues that you can go, and it is all so simple to be able to recreate some of these really popular styles with heat transfer vinyl. Hello, everybody that's commenting in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. But if you guys, I'm curious to know if you guys are working with heat transfer vinyl and doing stuff for the holiday. So a lot of really popular styled custom tees here that can either be printed with screen print, or if you want to just be able to recreate something very easily, then heat transfer vinyl is another great option. But Pinterest has a lot of really cool ideas. So that is where I source a lot of inspiration from for these things. So hi, Raymond and Terry. Hello, Mindy and Joe. Pittsburgh in the house. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to start from scratch. I'm actually going to show you how you guys can recreate some of these really cool looks using some of the heat transfer vinyl that we offer on our website. So as you could see just from scrolling through Pinterest, obviously red, white, and blue, full color type of designs on there. So in my mind, whenever I'm thinking of how easily or what's something easy that I can use to reproduce or recreate some of these popular designs that I don't actually have to print in-house, and my first thought goes to our pre-printed patterns that I can just cut out on the vinyl cutter. So this is already printed for me on a roll. This is actually our patterns in glitter. And we're able to achieve really nice full color look. So this is one pattern that I really love for the holidays, for the Americana type holidays. And then we also do this other really pretty one with stars. And what's nice about each of these patterns, and I know we talk about this a lot, but for those of you that aren't that familiar with our custom patterns, you're actually able to go in and change the colors of the pattern. So even if it isn't a pattern that's made specifically for the holiday, you can actually go in and select one and make it for the holiday by choosing the holiday's colors. So these I really, really love. And then we all know that tie-dye is very, very popular. So a tie-dye pattern would be really cool to be able to put on like a white or blue t-shirt for Memorial Day or any upcoming Americana type holiday. So first things first is we need a design. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Cricut Design Space. And here we are. And I'm going to go ahead and upload the design that I want to use. So the design I'm going to use today is, it's taking a little while to load, but the design I want to use today is an old one that I created that has a drop shadow. And the two products that I'm going to use are, like I showed you, the glitter patterns, and then also adhesive and foil. So that's taking a little bit to load there. So I'll talk to you a little bit about adhesive and foil. Really quickly, I do see a question coming in from Cindy. In a previous video posted a link where you can get flip-flops to heat press on. Would you happen to have that link? Thank you. Cindy, that is from Coastal Business. I don't have that link specifically handy at the moment, but I do know it was sourced from Coastal Business. All right, so let's try Cricut Design Space one more time. I actually exited out of the software. I'm going to bring that back up and hopefully everything will load a lot easier for me. Seems like my internet is running a little bit slow today. So hopefully everything's coming across well for you guys. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to go to upload image. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. As you can see, Cricut Design Space accepts all of these files. So the image that I'm going to bring in is a PNG. And it's going to vectorize that for me. You can see that over here that it created cut lines based off of the full color raster image that I imported. I'm just going to hit upload. And as you can see, I have the pieces. Let me size this down. I have the pieces separated already. That way I can just drag and drop. But the first thing I need to do, because this is reading as one solid image, I need to open up my shapes, and I just grab a square, and to break these apart, I just select the square and the image, and then I hit slice. And what that's doing is breaking apart the image that I just sliced, okay? So it broke all of that apart. Now I can just drop this in and piece those together, right? So now my drop shadow is complete. Now I'm going to unlock the aspect ratio of this. I do want this to be a little bit taller. And then I'm just gonna drag out until I get to the size that I want. I'm gonna do 9. There we go. All right, and then if I want to add color to this, just so that I know what products I'm loading onto my cutting mat, I'm just going to assign the patterned glitter to red and then the adhesive and foil to the silver. I wanted the foil to be the drop shadow because it's not often you see a metallic used as a shadow. Usually it's the main part. But I want the pattern to be the main part. So we'll see how that turns out. I think it'll be a unique look. All right, so we have our design ready to go. We have the dimensions 9 by 4, and now I'm ready to make it. All right, so anytime you are working with heat transfer vinyl, specifically patterned heat transfer vinyl, you want to make sure that you're not actually mirroring your image. So I already have loaded on my cutting mat here. I'm going to bring you guys up closer so that you can get a better look at what I'm doing over here. All right, so I already have my patterns loaded onto my cutting mat. And anytime I load my patterns on the cutting mat, I'm making sure that the solid side is going down and the pattern is faced up. And then we have to cut in a positive image instead of a mirror image because the adhesive is actually underneath the pattern. And whenever we go and weed that away and mask it, we're actually going to expose that adhesive so then it can apply to our garment with the heat press. All right, so I'm going to walk you guys through that step so you know exactly what I'm talking about. First, I'm going to make sure that I have the right things selected on my Cricut. So I do want to be on iron-on plus. So I'm gonna adjust my dial and then we're gonna get situated here. Get us. They make these cords so short. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you again so that you guys can see what I'm doing over here. All right, so the silver is indicating the adhesive. The adhesive I still do want to mirror, right? That's going to work just like any other typical heat transfer vinyl. That's a single color heat transfer vinyl. But we want to cut the red first. And again, I don't want to mirror that, so I'm going to leave that as is. I'm going to select continue. And it's just going to walk me through the steps, make sure I have everything accurately selected. So yes, we are on iron-on plus. It is giving me a little notification to make sure mirror is turned on. In this case, since we're working with patterns, we are not going to mirror. And I'm just going to hit fast mode. And now I can hit the go button on the cutter, which is this the blinking cricket symbol. Hello, Shayna from California. All right, so that's going to cut that out. While that is cutting that out, I want to explain to you guys adhesive and foil for those of you that have not worked with adhesive and foil. Now, some of you may already be working with a heat transfer vinyl known as metallic. That is just a ready-to-cut foil, essentially. It gives you the same finish. All you have to do is cut it and heat apply it. With adhesive and foil, there is an additional step because what we're doing is we're cutting out adhesive and then we're cutting a sheet of foil with a pair of scissors and laying that over top of the adhesive in the heat application process. Now, the reason I still utilize the foil process is because, one, it's really fun. There's a lot of different things that I can do with it to add unique value to the design, such as like distressing and things like that, maybe color blocking. But I also love the finishes that you can get with foil. So I know, for example, this finish, which is, I believe, called Champagne Sparkle or something like that. But it has a really cool rainbow effect to it. And it also has little specks in it. So it's a little bit of a fun pattern in the foil. And I just like to mix it up a little bit. If you don't want to have that additional step at the heat press and you just want to work with a regular metallic heat transfer vinyl, still going to give you that high mirror-like shine, but you are limited to just those solid colors. All right, I'm just trying to see if this cut, it's hard to see the cut lines on glitter patterns. I may need to increase my force. Let me find my weeder here. All right, so right now I'm just peeling this back to see if it cut. It barely cut through. So I don't know if you guys can see that. It's just not, oh, maybe we did get a decent cut. Just don't know if it's something we can work with or not. I'm not loving how this is weeding with this cut, so I'm going to go ahead. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is just not cutting all that well. So whenever I weed that away, you can see where it's not like keeping the cut line. And it's just kind of tearing all over. So what I'm going to do is actually flip this on the other side. And I'm going to increase my force. And instead of cutting on iron-on plus, I'm going to cut on the light cardstock setting. Working with textured heat transfer vinyl sometimes causes what would typically be a heavy pressure to be an even firmer pressure. All right, so we're going to cut that again. I'm going to go back to my patterns design and then we'll hit go. Okay, hopefully that will cut it. That was just a mess. I didn't want to have to weed that and spend too much time on that. All right, so I already have my adhesive trimmed up. So as soon as this is done cutting, luckily this isn't a pretty intricate design, so it shouldn't take too long to recut for us. And then I'll weed that and have this cutting while we're doing that. But just I'm curious, for those of you that are on with me today, how many of you are working with adhesive and foil? Do you still work with adhesive and foil, or did you just move over to metallic completely and not worry about still messing with foil? I still like playing with it. I think it's fun to use. All right, so now I'm just going to drop that adhesive on there. And the adhesive is really thin, which is nice because it makes the foil designs soft on apparel because of how thin the adhesive is. So we're going to dial back our cut specs, putting it on iron-on, and then making sure we're mirrored. Then I can just hit go. Okay. So let me trim this out. Let's find my cut line. I don't want to accidentally. Okay, it looks like we have a pretty good cut there, thankfully. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to peel up this corner. And honestly, this product is really easy to weed if you have the right cut setting. So as I peel this away, just see how easy that is to weed. So as long as you're using the right cut settings, there's really no issue. It's just making sure that you're using the right force on your blade so that the weeding process is super simple for you guys. But there is one more step to the patterns process. So as you can see, we are in a positive, and we need to flip it so that whenever we go to apply this, the adhesive underneath here, so I'm just going to lift that up a little bit, the adhesive underneath is exposed so that that will apply to the garment. And that is called the masking process. So you're going to use a masking, and that mask is going to lift this off of the carrier. That way we can transfer it to the garment. All right, adhesive cut lines, pretty easy to see, especially if you have decent lighting. But not hard for me to find at all. A little bit harder to find in a pattern, especially the glitter patterns, just because of all of the different texture and color that's going on with it. So that's why cut lines are so hard to see in that. And adhesive is pretty easy to weed as well. It does have a very tacky carrier. Okay, I got concerned there for a second. I'm like, don't tell me this didn't cut either. But it did. I just wasn't at the cut lines yet. There we go. But yes, it does have a pretty tacky carrier, which is nice because if you do work with intricate designs with this product, then you're going to want a tacky carrier. But you can see there, it's still super easy for me to weed that excess material away. But this will be the drop shadow under the U, S, and A. I know it's a little bit hard for you guys to see right now, but once we piece everything together and get the foil on there, you'll see it really come to life. All right, so real quick, Gail says, yes, love it. So I'm assuming that's for the foil. John asked, how do I get to the patterns on the Stahls website? So I will show you guys that really quickly so you guys can see where that is. So I'm going to bring up Google and go to Stahls. All right. So under our CAD Cut Direct section, you're going to click on that. A little drop-down menu is going to pop up. Then there is a heat transfer vinyl section. And then you'll just go to patterns. And then that will generate on the screen. And then it's going to ask you which pattern library you want to pull from. So you can see on there, we have Real Tree Camo patterns on there, Spectra patterns, which is from an old division imprintables. The patterns that they had on their website, they are now available on our website. And the Stahls Creative Studios is the ones that we consistently update with new patterns. So if I go to holidays, you will see, my internet is just running so slow today, but you'll see all of the different patterns that you can access. So if you wanted to do the Independence one, those are all in here. But the beauty of the patterns is if you didn't want to necessarily use the ones that are in the Independence holiday one, let's say I wanted to use something from the watercolor section where which I think is where I pulled the stripes from and the stars too. But you can go in and select the colors that you want in these patterns. So just keep that in mind. They're completely customizable so that you can choose what colors go into that to fit whatever holiday or market, maybe even a school colors, and any of those patterns, you can do that. All right, so we have our patterns cut and weeded. And now it's time for the masking process. So I'm going to trim up the masking. I think I need another table in here. I'm running out of room. Do not recommend trimming that on your lap. Came out very uneven. Okay, so I'm going to trim this up some more just to make sure I'm not wasting too much material here. And I can save the other piece of this for a smaller design. Okay, so this is the masking. I'm going to peel the backing from the mask. And whenever I mask this, what I do is going to move the cover sheet really quickly. I fold it in the center, not completely where I'm like creating a crease, but I just like round it out. And then I find center of my design and I start in the center and then just work my way out. That just reduces the amount of air bubbles that you get in your design. And then you just take a squeegee or a hard edge and you just press down and work out any air bubbles. And the goal of this is to get the products transferred over to the masking. Now we do have a specific masking for the glitter patterns, and it is known as high tack mask. Bear with me because I did not have high tack mask. I had a medium tack mask on hand. So this is going to not be as pretty of as a transfer as it would be if I had the high tack. But luckily we're not working with anything that's too intricate. So I'm just going to keep pushing through and just kind of piecing everything down. But if you want to avoid this from happening, the best way to do that is to use the high tack mask. Luckily, I'm only doing one of these just to show you guys a fun look that you guys can do with patterns and adhesive and foil. All right, so still just removing that backing. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing. It's not on screen at the moment. but bear with me. We're completing the S. I'm moving over to the U. Okay. All right, so this is the pattern's masked, but it's not staying on there very well. So what I'm going to do is grab the original backing that the mask came on, and I'm just going to try to get that on there a little bit better. So you can kind of see my S shifted during the masking process. So, or no, it was actually my A that shifted a little bit. So I'm just going to move that over a little bit. Okay. That looks better. All right, so to save that from shifting on me anymore, I'm going to keep that backing on there. So as long as it's holding it together so that it's an easy transfer at the heat press, then no worries. All right, so the adhesive is going to be the drop shadow on there. And for that adhesive transfer to work with the foil, I also need to trim up a foil piece. So I'm just gonna cut off a little sheet of that. I don't need a lot. It's just a little piece. And then we can do the heat application. All right, let's get you guys closer to the heat press so that you guys can watch this all come to life. Okay, so I have on here a Boxer Craft Cotton Poly Blend, and I'm going to do a quick preheat of that just to prep the garment and also test my pressure. All right, so first things first, I'm going to start with the largest part of my design, which in this case is the pattern. So I'm going to drop that on the shirt. And this is a scoop neck tee, so I'm not actually going the full 4 fingers down from the collar, which is technically like a 3-inch measurement. And this is just going to apply at 300 degrees. And I'm just going to tack this, all right? So the patterns do work with that tacking method where we suggest just tacking for 3 to 5 seconds. And they're a hot peel, so I can go ahead and peel this carrier back. I just love that tacking method. It activates the adhesive just enough to start curing it to the garment so that you can easily just go in and lay your next design. Hopefully this all pieces together great because of, no, it's not, because my letters shifted during the masking piece. So I'm just going to lay each of these ones individually. And like I said, this process, like what's happening here, can easily be avoided by just using the high tack mask. So as I mentioned, I didn't have it on hand, so I utilized the medium tack, but the letters did shift on me a little bit in that process. Right now I'm going to drop in the U drop shadow. And now we can go ahead and apply the adhesive. This is also another product that works great with the tacking method. So 3 to 5 seconds. Typically, anytime you work with a hot peel product, that's a pretty clear way to know if it is compatible with the tacking method. Right, and this is a hot peel product, so we can peel that immediately. And now we will take that foil that we trimmed up and just place that over the entire design. And that's only going to adhere where that adhesive was laid. It's not going to stick to the pattern's glitter product at all. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't matter if it's overlaying another heat transfer vinyl. It's not going to apply to the other heat transfer vinyl, just the adhesive. So the foil adheres at 300 degrees for 10 seconds using a cold peel and a firm pressure. So we'll actually wait for that to cool completely before we remove the foil sheet. Hi, Mike. Thank you. Glad you were able to make it. Hi, Shirley. All right, so doesn't have to be completely cool to touch, but as I'm going to try to hold this up as best as possible so that you guys can see where it sticks. All right, so just peel that back. You can see where it's just adhering to where the adhesive drop shadow was. And that turned out pretty stinking cool. I was a little worried if it was going to be like too much because there's a pattern in the foil and a pattern in the glitter, but I do really like how this turned out. If you guys like how this turned out, give me a like or a heart. I want to know if you guys like this as much as I do. As the creator, I tend to like a lot of the stuff that I come up with, but it doesn't mean everybody else likes it, right? But I do think that this did turn out really, really cool. So mixed media designs, really popular for the holidays. Don't overlook the patterns and utilizing those in the graphics that you're creating, because it makes it so easy to be able to take a full color inspired look and just have to vinyl cut it and mask it. That way you can still reach that market with full color designs, but you're not doing really anything different than you would with your typical vinyl cut process. And of course, foil is always a popular eye-catching product, so I really like it as the drop shadow. It's not often you see that, so really cool look. Seems like you guys like it. Awesome. Thank you, Cindy, Brenda, Tyrone, Terry, Shirley. Thank you, thank you. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today, but hopefully you guys picked up some tips and tricks of different heat transfer vinyls that you can pair together. But ultimately, the goal here is make sure you guys are thinking outside the box and getting creative with all the different heat transfers that you guys have right at your fingertips to be able to add unique value to the products that you're offering and reach new markets. If you're not already going after the graphic tee market for holiday inspired designs, then definitely approach it. As you guys saw from earlier, Pinterest is like flooded with a ton of ideas of different custom tees that people are doing now. So get creative with it. There's a lot of fun products that help make the creativity worth it and really bring it to life. Cindy says, thank you for the tip to make the pattern larger. Yes, it helps it just stand out more and not get lost on the garment. Thank you, thank you. All right, guys. Well, if you guys have any other remaining questions, maybe specific to products that you saw today, feel free to comment those in the chat section of YouTube and Facebook broadcast. I'll revisit all of those questions, but thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.